It's the Coaching Life podcast. We forgot to decide who's going to intro us today, so I'll do that. This is episode number 161 of the Coaching Life podcast. And, in our 161 episodes of this podcast, we have done interviews. We have had guests on, and we've done interviews with 28 different people. So we've done 28 different interviews. And in all 28 of those interviews, we were the interviewers.
Yep.
And somebody else was the interviewee. We were talking to them. So today, for the first time in the history of the Coaching Life podcast, the long history since 2019, the summer of 2019, we are going to be the interviewees. And we're going to be interviewed by Cami Seymore.
My name is Cami Seymore. I'm a freshman at Ohio University, and I write for The Post. And I'm doing a feature on the Coaching Life podcast, and just shouting out all the work that Chris and Pat do. So.
Thank you very much, Cami.
Yeah, thank you. And you were ready to go with that. Like I was going to say all that, but shoot, I don't need to now. Yeah, that's
we should let Cami open.
You should have done the open for us. That's right. That's right.
I appreciate it.
We're pretty excited about this because we don't know where it's going to go, right? Because what we told her was our podcast is a conversation. Mm-hmm. It's just an ongoing conversation. And it's about youth sports and sometimes just about life. And that's why we titled it The Coaching Life, because sort of a double meaning there, the coaching life, but also you could put the emphasis on life or coaching. You put the emphasis on coaching life as well. So
and speaking of life, I'd probably be a little bit more nervous, but I'm going to be leaving the country tomorrow. So
it's upon us. It's upon us. That's right. So our last few episodes, we've been talking a little bit about Pat's upcoming trip. Why don't you tell her what you're doing here?
I'm going on a cruise, Cami.
Ooh,
first
fun.
Ever. My first experience. Actually, my first plane ride as well.
Really?
Oh, you're kidding me.
Never been on a plane.
You've never been on a plane?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Wow.
Planned to a couple times, but for whatever reason, the trip got axed. So this is it for me. I'm going to get my will taken care of this evening.
Okay.
So everything should be squared away, ready to roll.
Where are you headed?
We're going to go. We're flying to Tampa, and we're going on a Carnival cruise, so around the Caribbean, Cozumel, Mahogany Bay.
He's going to be in rough shape next week.
I'll probably be 20 pounds heavier. And
we still haven't decided.
Video, I can't afford 20 more pounds.
Well, we know you're going to be working on this cruise. He never stops working. Never stops working. And so, since you're going to have the internet package, do you really want a podcast from the cruise?
Yeah, we can try.
Take 15 minutes of your family's time.
Yeah, no, we're going to be on a boat. I mean, we're going to be bored of each other, aren't we? Surely.
Buddy, it's not. I got to go on my first cruise in October this year. My wife and I did. I did not take, and it was just us two. And so we got to do whatever we wanted. You're going to have your whole family and 30 other people, it sounds like.
Yes.
So that's a lot of people. Yeah. You're going to be wanting to escape from them anyway. So you could say, guys, I have to podcast. Chris is all over me. I got to podcast.
Well, I can't. I'm not. There will have to be time for me to sit in the room and just.
It's the best part of it.
Sit there.
I mean, there is. There's all these excursions and things that you could do. But honestly, my favorite part was sitting out on the balcony.
Well, I don't have a balcony room. I'm on the interior. So when the boat begins to sink, it'll be tougher for me to
You
get
can't
out.
jump.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like that scene in the Titanic.
Well, we wish you well.
Thank you. It's been nice. It's been nice.
Well, cool. I tell you what, I mean, we could just chat forever, but we know that you have some questions, Cami, that you'd like to ask us. So we're just going to throw it to you and then let you ask whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, these are some boring questions just to get us started. But what are your names, preferred pronouns, where are you from, and what do you guys do for a living?
Chris, and I am a man. My preferred pronoun is he. And I am the operations manager here at the College of Communication. And I'm not going to go into what all that entails, but I do get to interact with pretty much everybody in our college. I work for the dean's office. And in addition to working for the dean's office this past year, I've actually gotten to do a little bit of teaching for journalism as well. Ironically enough, podcasting. So, yeah.
Good
Makes
deal.
sense, yeah.
So I'm Pat Martin. I also am a man. He, him. I am an application systems analyst 3 at Ohio University. I, too, will not go into what that means, other than just say I'm a computer nerd. And
Yeah, when you said boring questions, you weren't kidding right there. That talking about what we do, that's pretty boring.
Yeah, so sure.
Oh, I don't think so. What inspired you guys to start the Coaching Life podcast?
Talking. Really, that's what it was. We became friends, I don't know, 5 or 6, 7 years before we started. I don't know when we started, really. I mean, I'm really not still, I'm not considered Chris's friend because he never refers to me as a friend, but
I actually refer to him more as a friend than he refers to me. I refer to him by his name, Pat. He just calls everybody Coach, and I'm just one of the many that he calls Coach.
It's a term of endearment. Everybody calls me Pat.
Even your wife.
That's true. But no, we just, obviously we have a shared passion for baseball, and that reaches from youth baseball all the way up to professional baseball, and we would talk about those things often through text, and we started to meet for lunch for a few years, talking about those same conversations that we've had, the problems, the issues with youth sports, the things that we've done wrong, primarily in our experiences with youth sports. Coach had brought his 2 kids up through. By that time, they had already finished that experience, and I was going through it. So we had that shared passion for that, and we just one day said, "Hey, maybe we should start recording these and let people join."
Let's preserve this conversation. That's right. Yeah. I mean, initially we actually only had planned on doing a limited number of episodes, right? And we thought it would be 3 or 4, and then it became 5, and then it became 7. And so the first really kind of the first 7 was going to be it for us, because we had the things that we were talking about were specifically related to youth baseball, and some of the things that we thought from our own experiences and from our own observations around the culture of baseball. As you're a culture writer, so the culture of youth baseball has a couple different branches to it. You've got the recreational ball culture, which a lot of in rural Southeast Ohio, a lot of kids play recreational ball. Like here in Athens, it's the Athens Sandlot League, which is a really good organization. The Big Bend League, which is also a really good organization down where Pat lives in Meigs County. But then you also have a mix of kids, even from these areas, who go and play travel baseball, club baseball. And at the time, there wasn't as many. It's happening more, right? You think it ebbs and flows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think people are actually now, ironically enough, only a few years later, coming back to wanting to have more local experiences. And it's probably because some of the travel opportunities have gotten watered down a little bit, maybe.
Sure.
But they all have issues, and like the travel organizations have issues where you spend a lot of money, right? You spend a lot of money, and my family spent a lot of money. I sat down one day and started calculating the amount of money that we paid on player fees, uniforms, but then you can't forget the travel, the food, the hotels, all that. I mean, nobody's paying for that for you. Your family's paying for that, and what we kind of having been, we're high school coaches. Been coaching baseball for a long time. One of the things that we were talking about is one of the reasons why people do this stuff, the travel stuff at least, is to try to get recruited to play in college, to move on beyond high school. And one of the things that Pat and I were talking about down at B-Dubs a couple times was you don't have to do all that. You don't have to do all that. And so we kind of wanted to get behind these microphones and tell people, hey, we have here's a plan. Here's a plan that we'd like to, just throw out there. If you're a recreational league president, or if you have a travel organization, we would just love to pitch something to you, because we weren't at the time. Oh, you are. You've kind of always, Pat's kind of always been involved in recreation ball.
Well, sure.
Even while you're a high school coach, you're very much.
You had stepped away. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, like I had stepped away for a little bit to watch my son play in college, and the only thing I was doing was kind of, I was writing things down and blogging and had a lot of ideas. I wanted to continue coach. Yeah. And I just couldn't do it so the only outlet I had was to write, and then we started talking, and then this became another outlet to talk, and so we talked a little bit about. We actually did outline those first 7 shows, and we actually recorded them all in the same day, I believe, or in about 3 days.
Couple days, yeah.
Yeah, and they were about player development and the value, putting value on, on helping organizations realize that the biggest thing that these kids need all the way up through 13, 14, 15 years old is development. And the reason why we were saying that is because you could see a lack of development in a lot of areas, particularly in,
Yeah, and that hinges mainly on like the conversation of playing a lot of games to not practice, to having very minimal practices. And
that was one of our episodes.
And vice versa.
Fact.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, how do we manage that? How do we balance it?
Yeah, my brother played club basketball, so I definitely know like the culture and like the time commitment and like the financial commitment that it takes to like be a part of that sort of organization. So
Yep, absolutely.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is.
But I guess we probably didn't. I guess the last part of that is because we're obviously still recording today. After those 7 episodes, we had maybe 20, 30 people listening to us.
Yeah.
And some of them were like, "You guys need to just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it." And so we're like, "Well, what are we going to talk about?" I mean, we're not that exciting. And so, and Pat mentioned, I had written enough blogs to where they eventually became chapters of a book. And I wrote a book called Building Champions, and then I had even more things that I continued to write. And so I followed it up with a second book called Coaching Life. And so we titled this podcast by that same name, and we started using some of the chapters from those books as our podcast episodes. So probably another 30 episodes or so early on were chapters of one of those 2 books.
We still pull one every once in a while.
Yeah, we haven't talked about all of them, so yeah.
This is sort of just like more a general question, but why is coaching, in your own words, so important, and why are sports and physical activity so imperative for for the youth and for young kids?
I think the biggest thing you can take away is that in your life, everybody's a coach in some way. You're a coach to your peers, to your family members, to your children, definitely. So that's something that Coach and I have talked about. Everybody kind of serves in that role in some capacity. So that everyone gets coached. It's important to life to be able to be coached and to understand how to coach. But there's a lot of life lessons that kids take away from sports. How to deal with struggle, challenge, how to handle success. Because there's things that you can do after you're successful that leads to failure, and things that leads to more success. So there's just a plethora of lessons that people can learn playing sports as they go through.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't lie. I coach the sports that I coach because I love the sports. Love the sports. But that's second, really, to be really honest. One of the things I think is that the reasons why coaching is so valuable is because of the relationships that you build, but also the relationships that are needed. I mean, if we coach a team of 15 young men, in our teams, the number of kids fluctuate, depending on the year. But let's say we have 15 young men on our team. There's a good chance 12, 13 of those have really good home lives, right? But we recognize that in many ways, often we're the only father figure that some of these kids might have as well, and so it's really valuable to, I know Pat and myself both, to realize that we're coaching people. We're not coaching a sport primarily. Obviously, we are coaching a sport, but it's for us both, it's person first. And we believe that the greatest value of coaching is impacting lives in that way. The relationships that you can build with your fellow coaches as well, with your opponents even, with the officials, with all the people. And we've talked about all those different, those different people that are involved in sports and what makes it so special. I mean, the accountability factor alone for kids like in high school right now, we're coming upon a time where they're in the middle of a quarter And the quarter is going to end, the grading period is going to end right at the beginning of baseball season. And there are a lot of kids who don't care about their grades, just don't care as much. Springtime comes, they started, it's time to just let your hair down, just do whatever. But if you're playing ball and you have friends that are counting on you, there's an accountability there to better yourself in the classroom as well. And so we've seen those kinds of things. I mean, the data is true. I mean, playing sports in school, throughout school, actually does increase your academic progress as well. And so we will champion that and talk about it until we die. Both of us will.
Yeah, one of the big things we always talk about and push our kids to understand is, or our players, is that, in order to be the best player that they want to be, they should strive to be the best person that they want to be first. So it kind of just all falls into that same spectrum of, it's important to life.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I loved that my high school had a 3-year, 3-season sports requirement, because there really is like that link between the focus and it positively impacts all aspects of like a high schooler's like day-to-day life. So I loved it. I played golf for 3 years, and then I also did lacrosse for 2 years.
So you had to play one sport.
Yeah, back that up. I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear more about this. Was this a private school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you had to do 3 seasons, and it had to span over 3 years. So you had to play 3 years of a sport at least, which was, I mean, a lot of people complained about it.
Of course.
Yeah, because it is
not
very
easy.
time consuming.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that was the best part of my high school, because like sports weren't necessarily super competitive and everyone could like participate if they wanted to. Like we didn't really have cuts, and you could sort of like try out whatever you wanted, and it wasn't really a big deal if it didn't end up working out. And I don't know, I think just having that opportunity to just like try out those sports was just like, it was such a great opportunity in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too. I don't know that I've ever heard of that before. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
No. What high school did you go to?
I went to Columbus Academy.
I know
in
you probably
Gahanna.
told us already. And
Yeah, it's really
I know
small
where Columbus
preschool.
Academy is. Yeah.
It's I went there I've been going there since I was in pre-K, so like I was
Okay.
4. But yeah, I love the way that they like handle and like handle academics, but also like, because it is a very academically rigorous school, but the way that they balance it with athletics, I think, is a great combination.
Those two things.
back that.
That's awesome.
It is.
It's an academically rigorous school, and they require their students to play 3 sports.
Yeah.
Over the course of 3 years.
3 seasons.
Three
Yeah,
seasons.
3 seasons. It can just be one sport.
Yeah,
But it's
3
just over
seasons of
3
something.
seasons.
Yeah.
Over 3 years. Yeah.
There's something to be
really
said
cool.
about that.
I've
They've
heard of-
seen something in the value of what sports
Absolutely.
bring. This various thing that we
Right.
talked about.
And implement it. That's the second thing.
Yeah,
It's
buddy.
Really, hats
Yeah.
off to them for saying we need to do this.
Because I guarantee you, people have chosen not to go there because of that requirement. I guarantee you.
That's
Yeah,
probably true,
I mean,
too.
we do have like a summer PE, because we don't have a PE option if you don't want to, like a physical education requirement, if you don't want to play a sport. Like we don't have that in just like the standard day-to-day
Yeah.
schedule, but there is like a summer PE option. But not very many people choose to do it. Most people just
Yeah,
choose to
just
play
play
a
the
sport,
sport.
which is, I think, great just because it's so like open and like accepting
Yeah.
the culture of like athletics at my
Now, did
high
you
school.
have class periods, class blocks where you would practice when you would go practice golf, or was it always after your school time?
So when I played golf, I was actually on the inaugural girls golf team. I was on like the first, when I was a freshman, my friends and I, we made the team, and we like recruited my friend's mom to coach it.
Sweet.
Because she played in college. And we basically like talked to the athletic director, and we were like, we want to start this team. We don't have one. We have a boys golf team, don't have a girls. So we got together 8 girls, and that was enough
Yeah.
to start the team. And that was like, we were the varsity team, and it was, we were really bad our first year. But as we kept going, more and more girls
Yeah.
kept joining. And
Probably the first time some of those girls ever played golf.
it was mine.
There you go.
So
This is about my
That's a-
30th
that's a
year.
difficult
I'm still bad.
sport.
yeah, I'm not very good, but it was really fun. But by the 3rd year, I think, when I was a junior, our varsity team won state champion the one who won the state championship. Yeah, it was.
Nice.
Need to get your mom coaching.
Yeah, heck
golf
yeah.
down here at
I might
Ohio.
have to bring her in for an
Yeah,
interview.
she's incredible, and she was just like, she knew that a lot of us were like brand new to the sport, and she was just happy that we were like passionate enough to start it and stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
she was just so like, she was so helpful and so supportive throughout the whole process, and like now they're winning like state championship after state.
Is she still coaching?
Yeah, it's been like it's her fifth.
Dad
fourth or
coaches and
fifth
mom
year.
coaches don't know what they're doing.
right, yeah.
They're playing mommy ball down
Mommy
there
ball,
at
yeah.
Columbus Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's facetious, by the way. Obviously, we all saw that here. Just making sure the people on the podcast that are listening know that that's very, very cynical of me to say that.
I'm sure we've talked about that.
Oh,
a
it's
few
one of our
times.
episodes. Daddy ball. Yeah.
Yeah, just like about sports in general, like what are your guys' favorite sports to like watch, to coach, to play?
Oh boy, here we go.
I know this could get like this could get passionate, I feel.
I don't know what the problem is. Coach.
It's baseball season year round, and
Okay.
it really became baseball season 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
when the Browns and the Cowboys got knocked out of the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. No, it is baseball season year round. It's almost like baseball's for me, and I know for Coach too. It's just part of who we are. You know, it's not.
Yep.
We don't even
Yep.
consider like we would never like. The answer is baseball.
Right.
You know, as a fan, you know, for me watching football is probably I'm more.
Yeah.
And more specifically watching the Browns. I'm a Cleveland
There
Browns
you go.
fan, so
Yeah.
that's what I spend my falls and winters doing on top of anything else that he's done for baseball.
That's right. Yeah, we'll sit and watch the NFL, and we'll have our baseball notebooks and things, making plans for the season too.
Yeah.
So because it's always in our heart. But yeah, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'd say football is probably my favorite sport to watch outside of watching. People say, oh, I don't like to watch baseball. I love watching baseball. So when we have the MLB subscription, I share it with my son, and so that means we get every game that's on. Happens to be on. So there's 13 games on, Wednesday. Then we have our pick of what we want to watch, and I'll watch baseball every single night. Second to that, the NFL. But I'll be honest with you, live, like watching high school sports live, I love watching volleyball.
Oh
Yeah.
Volleyball
Yeah.
is absolutely electric.
Yeah.
It is electric, and I'm on the edge of my seat. You can feel your heart rate beating, fast
Hey.
the entire time.
I'll tell you this: I went to my first wrestling meet of my life
last night, right?
Last night,
Yeah.
it was at Meg's, and I really
That's
enjoyed
intense.
that.
Yeah,
Like,
those
I
are
didn't- I didn't
intense.
really know the rules. I was, trying to learn on the go. But yeah, it is intense. It's really intense.
It's the toughest. It's the toughest sport in all high school sports.
Oh yeah,
I'll go on record to say that.
And
Wrestling
talk about
is
life
the toughest
lessons.
sport.
That's a great sport.
One on
one, and you're down there, winning or getting beat in front of a bunch of people,
Yep.
and it hurts, physically, mentally. I mean, there's a lot.
At
that
these
those kids-
invitationals too, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's packed.
Yeah, so I was really impressed
Yeah.
with what I saw last night out of the wrestling meet. But yeah, so we're very similar in that regards. I am coaching 7th grade basketball right now.
Okay.
My youngest son plays on the 7th grade team, and in previous years I've helped coach high school basketball. So coach a little bit of basketball, but yeah, baseball's the primary above all that for sure.
Yeah, same. When my kids were younger, I coached both of them in basketball. Coached my son in football through junior high. Actually, I was a football coach through 8th grade, and I think even after he was in high school, I still coached a couple more years.
You coach track? You ever coach track?
I have never coached track.
I got that one on you.
Yeah, you've coached track. That's right.
I've been an
Baseball,
assistant
basketball, football has been. I've never coached volleyball. I would think I could see myself doing it though. I would have to learn. I'd have to become a real student of the
Right.
game, right? I mean, I know a little bit about volleyball, but I don't know the technique, and I don't know how to. But I know how to coach people.
Sure.
But,
Yeah, you
so
can
I
hire
would.
an
I would want to.
assistant to know the technique.
Exactly. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, my mom might have you beat. She's coached basketball, field hockey, lacrosse, and soccer.
Yep, she's got me.
Yeah, yeah. My mom played D1 basketball in college.
Really?
For
Yeah,
where?
Cornell.
Nice.
How big that gone?
Yeah. My other mom also, she played at Marietta. And so she grew up coaching. I quit basketball in the 7th grade, but she coached my brother since he was in 3rd grade. So I've grown up going to his games, and she stopped in middle school when our Columbus Academy had the designated coach. But yeah, through that I know all of I I know basketball, and like I used to do the stats for my brother's team, and
Okay.
I used to do like not just like points and stuff like that. I used to do like steals, rebounds, turnovers.
Now you charted everything.
Yeah, I charted everything, and then I would give it to my mom afterwards, so that way she could like, because like a lot of the time, like people aren't just like scoring, like they're doing other things well, and by like recording that kind of thing, you can give that sort of like positive reinforcement to all of the players and stuff like
Love
that.
it.
So that's why my mom wanted me to record that.
Quality at bats.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Just
in
that's
our baseball
quality
programs.
play versus What are
Yeah.
you doing when the ball is away from you?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, because not everyone is going to be a scorer at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So
I actually, when I go to basketball, because I have coached a little bit of basketball
Yeah.
too, I love watching. I actually love coaching basketball. I like watching what the players are doing. The players are doing when they don't have the basketball.
Yeah.
You find out who the true basketball players are when
Yes.
when you when you watch those guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
definitely.
Man, your mom's. We need to
She's
get her on the
legit.
podcast.
We really do.
Yeah, exactly.
Set that
Probably
up.
do it.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, she's great. Definitely, we're definitely a sports family. Like every night when I come home, it's like the TV is split screen, like 4 ways, like 4 different games. Like
Yep. I understand
it's
that.
constant. Yeah.
Yep.
Grew up with it. So
Cool.
how does the podcast fit in your day-to-day life? Is it hard to balance a recording schedule with your daily tasks, day jobs, and family life?
I'll let Pat answer that.
It's not for Coach Stewart. He figures out how to get it all.
Well, I
taken
work
care of.
here too, so I've got a little bit of an advantage.
Well,
So
I work here
you're-
too. I'm just not on
I mean, I
site.
work where we're recording. Like this is my baby right here.
But
yeah.
you do all the editing and everything else. He always figures out a way to make things fit in. Normally, when we shift our schedule, it's because of me, because I either have a meeting come up or I have to do something, at home or something like that. But
Going on
yeah.
another cruise.
going on, yeah, right. So, but it's we schedule it and plan to do it and hope to do it, and we've been able to do it. When baseball season comes around, we'll probably do it less. And there's certain periods in our lives when we're doing certain things that we don't get an episode out at a week at a
Yeah.
time. But the one thing that I would say, the way that it fits into my life, when I think about the podcast and how it really fits is, and it's something we've talked about, when you're hearing your voice say something, about a principle or a strategy or a characteristic that you look for as a coach, and when you're talking about those things, it holds you to that. Like you feel obligated to live up to those sorts of standards that you talk about. So it's one thing to believe something, but when you're talking about it and it's recorded and other people are listening to you say it, it makes it's really a form of us trying to be better people through these conversations. So that's what I would say to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, our goal has always been to try to put one episode a week out. And the reason for that is because if you do want to have a podcast and you feel like that you are talking about something that could be useful to people, and we know we're not useful to everyone, but for the culture, for the target audience, I guess you could say, that we feel like there are some things that we've talked about, some things, some books that we've read, some people that we've had on the interview that could really be helpful to other coaches, other parents out there, and players as well. We've talked about recruiting and different things. And so we want to make sure that we have a large reach. I mean, it is our goal to have a large reach. Everything we do, we've not paid it. I mean, we don't really promote it like we probably could. In terms of wanting to really build the podcast to be huge, it's just pretty much grown by word of mouth and the posts that we put out on social media, and then people grab a hold of it. They happen to listen to it. Probably the same way I grab a hold of a podcast. I'll see something that interests me. I'll listen to an episode or two, and then if I like it, I'll subscribe to it. And so, we probably are not very good at reminding people to do things like that, but we do know that the more content that you have, I mean, we're not putting out 3 episodes a week like Joe Rogan, right? But
4 hours.
We're also not getting paid millions of dollars to podcast,
Not
right?
yet.
Spotify
Not
has
yet,
not
Cami.
bought us yet. Yes. And we're not charging a minimum of $1 million for one ad on your show like Joe Rogan does as well. $1 million
Wow.
to have one ad on his show. It's incredible. But anyway, but once a week, That's pretty good content. Like that's pretty good consistency. And like Pat said, when we get into baseball season or other seasons of life that get busy for us, people know, we're not going to get one out this week, but we have 160 episodes. And so if you have already listened to 160 of those, awesome. We love those people, right? But there's a good chance that most people haven't listened to all of them. So if we miss recording one week and someone wants to listen to us, find something that you haven't listened to yet and go back. I mean, that's exactly what I do,
that's
right?
what I do too.
If I'm listening like Criminal Podcast with Phoebe Judge, and I haven't listened to all those episodes, but I love it. I love that podcast. I've listened to a lot of them, and if I miss one week, or if they don't record one week, I'll listen to an episode that I haven't heard yet.
I do have some podcasts that I've caught up on completely. So I feel like
so you feel the pain if people are like, you guys haven't put one out this week.
Yeah. So like I feel guilty a little bit because man, there's not a podcast here to listen to. So I have to go back and listen to one I've already heard. So yeah. So
we do have a handful of people that will say that to it. Like we'll get a message and that you guys, when you're putting out the next episode.
Yeah. Every once in a while someone will say.
Yeah. So we've got some very loyal listeners out there. So
that's impressive. Yeah. That was actually my next question was like what other, you mentioned this earlier, but what other forms of social media do you use to promote your podcast? And how do you utilize those?
Most recently, TikTok.
Yeah, it's the big one.
I said we're not going to do TikTok. Like,
well,
I'm not a 14-year-old.
When the video came about, it was just perfect.
Yes. So when we started doing video, we started recording our podcasts. There's actually a feature. I probably shouldn't say this. I should let people should think that I'm doing all this behind the scenes. But I tell you what, artificial intelligence is fascinating. There's an AI generated. They call it magic clips, where it will actually scan our entire episode. Like last week's episode was over an hour long. And which that's also a goal. We don't really want to be an hour long, but if we are, no big deal. But it will scan the entire hour, and it will find 5 to 10 clips of about a 1 minute long clip. Some are shorter, some are longer, and somehow it really, it will start at the beginning of a thought or a piece of our conversation and end perfectly. And you could still edit it if you need to, like if it's not perfect, or if you, but it's fascinating. Like, so I thought, and then you could actually save it in a different format so that it'll fit. Like if somebody's watching TikTok, it'll fit on that. And I had a TikTok account but I didn't ever post anything. Yeah. And I thought, this is what I'm going to start posting. So yeah, so I told my daughter, because I started following Kaylee, and I think she deleted me. Yeah, but I threw her under the bus right there. But no, I said, listen, the only thing I'm going to post, I'm not posting silly stuff, like silly dad jokes. It's just going to be our.
She didn't want you on TikTok at all.
She didn't want me following her. I think that's what it was. So, which I don't know why. She doesn't post anything that I would object to. She's an awesome kid.
We had her on the podcast.
Awesome lady. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, come on, Kaylee. Yeah. I was kind of hoping you'd help share these, right? So no, but we actually have a Coaching Life. I almost said Twitter. What the heck is it called? X. How's that hard to remember?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
We have a Coaching Life handle on X.
Twitter.
Yeah, and I think it's at the Coaching Life podcast, right?
I thought it was just the Coaching.
I don't know. You might have to look that up.
I can't.
We're using your phone and we're using mine. Yeah, but I think it's either at Coaching. It's either at the Coaching Life or at the Coaching Life podcast, and that's also our Gmail address as well. And we don't have Facebook or anything. And actually, the TikTok is my account. But I will always like tag him, and then he'll post it as well on his, because he's got 1 million followers on Facebook. Everybody loves Pat.
Yeah, definitely like the short clips on TikTok, like from podcasts, are like the ones that like can go viral and stuff like that. So it's definitely like the best form, especially for podcasting. My next question is, what do your kids think about the podcast? How old are they? Have they been featured on it? Just sort of anything about your kids.
That's a great. I haven't heard what your kids think about it.
Yeah. I would say it's very similar to how Kaylee treated you on TikTok. No, I've asked Jake
if he's listened,
if he would want to come on.
Oh yeah, as a guest.
Nope.
Really?
Nope. So
he's pretty bashful though.
Yeah, he is. He does. He don't like to be.
But if he got in here, he would be really great. Because we could get him talking. Just start talking baseball.
Yeah, they don't. My kids don't talk about it a lot. I've got a junior in high school, 17-year-old
Jeremiah. he would talk. Surely he would talk.
He probably would, but he's never mentioned.
We'd have to use this a lot.
Oh my gosh, yeah, probably. He's grown up a little bit, but he's a 7th grader, 13-year-old. Okay. But yeah, they don't talk too much about it. They just, I mean, everything I do.
We don't know anything.
It's weird.
Yes.
And, I don't know. It's just that
if it was somebody else's dad doing it,
if it was
your kids probably would know all about it. Oh yeah.
Listen, if it was Coach Roush, the softball coach at Meg's,
there you go.
Jake would love it, and he would actually be the co-host. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, he would be there. It's
just because
right
dad, right?
Yeah. So they don't talk much about it.
Jake's a junior in high school.
Jake's a junior. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's coaching his son right
That's
now.
Cool.
And,
yeah.
Both sons. Both sons. You're currently coaching your younger son in basketball, and then Jake, and you'll coach Jeremiah eventually in baseball.
Yeah, this might be the last year that I coach either of them in anything but baseball.
There you go. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to
Breaking news.
Yeah, there you go. Breaking news. So, yeah, my kids are 25 and 22. Actually, I think my son Brock was our first guest, wasn't he? Yeah, that we had.
Great episode. Yeah.
And at the time, he was a college student playing baseball at Alderson Broaddus University, and he eventually, after he graduated, he was invited to interview for a full-time assistant coach position for the team that he played for, and he got that and was coaching college ball. He was the recruiting coordinator there, and then Alderson Broaddus University was one of the universities that went under. They closed their doors this past August. We had a whole episode about it a while back. It was just a shock because it's a very historic university. I mean, it's in Philippi, West Virginia.
It really stinks.
Still
stinks.
It is. It's sad. I mean, they were just bleeding debt, and the people that worked for this university had no idea. I mean, they got blindsided the week of when the doors were shut. Hep C pulled their accreditation, and so he immediately had to find a place for 30-some guys to go to school, hopefully play baseball.
And by the way,
he was unemployed, and so he had to find a job. I tell you what, God was good. He found a job here locally, and that he and his wife Allie and my granddaughter Palmer moved back here. They had just had a baby as well. Yeah. And she was a handful of months old, at the time, and actually about to turn 1 in 2 weeks. 1 year old. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I'll show you pictures after this. But yeah, so I mean, right now he is the career coach at Eastern High School, where I coach baseball, and he's also the athletic director. So in a sense, he's
your boss,
a little bit my boss. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Working for him. So yeah.
And soon he's going to be an assistant coach at Meg's.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Yeah, I guess there's been some conversations that I haven't known about. So that's him. But my daughter just graduated from Ohio University last spring, and she started out. She made her way into 2 different universities. Not as many as my wife. My wife has more universities under her belt than anybody in our house. But Kaylee was recruited to play softball to Waynesburg University in Pennsylvania. She was a high school athlete, actually. Phenomenal high school athlete, if I say so myself. And her picture's on the wall up there as athlete of the year for her class. Wow. She was a 3-sport athlete, played volleyball, basketball, and softball. Could play baseball, but she played softball, and she went to Waynesburg to study marine biology, believe it or not. Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, to study marine biology. They had a partnership with Coastal Carolina. So she was going to go 3 years there and 1 year at Coastal and play softball basically for 3 years and at Waynesburg. And her freshman year was the year that COVID hit. And so she got to play 1 week of college softball, finished that year at home. And then while she was at home, decided that she had been fulfilled in high school. And I could see that. I mean, she accomplished about as much as anybody could accomplish in high school sports, and it's a different world. If you got to really want to play college ball, I mean, you just do. And we've talked about that a lot. And she realized that she didn't want to, and decided to switch majors as well. I mean, it was a lot going into it, right? And she switched majors, became a communications major here, got her certificate in social media, as well as, goodness, she's got all kinds of minors like coaching, administration, and things like that. But she was in the process of applying for jobs, searching for a job after she graduated, when we found out about my son and my daughter-in-law's move and all that stuff, and everything, there was just chaos for a while. And she, bless her heart, she's like, you know what, you guys are both needing to get jobs. My daughter-in-law teaches at Alexander, a local elementary school here. They were both going to be gone during the day, and she said, you've got a brand new baby. That's my niece. I'll be the nanny. And so she's working as a nanny right now. For my son and daughter-in-law, and
she's free in the evenings.
Well, yeah, but no. I mean, I see her sometimes in the evenings because she's still living. She's living at home as well, so she's banking this money, right? And because she has a dream. She wants to live down south. She would love to. She's an ocean person. Like she wanted to be a marine biologist. I mean, she wanted to. She loves sharks. She loves sharks, and. So I could see her being the child that probably moves away, like I did.
I wonder if Kayla still loves sharks when one eats me next week.
We'll keep tabs on that.
Yeah.
She'll if you see a shark, she'll tell you how to. She wanted to tag them. That was what she wanted to do.
Yeah, maybe I should take one down.
And then she realized, because we watched all those programs, when she was in high school, and she realized there is such a small percentage of people who actually do that, who actually get to do that in the world of marine biology.
Oh, really?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, for her, it was and hardly any of those are women, unfortunately, and so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, women have a double whammy against them. I mean, a lot of those jobs, right? I mean. And so, yeah, I mean, I think she realized it wasn't going to be what she thought it was going to be. So, yeah.
Interesting.
I tend to talk way too much when somebody asks a question.
I'm seeing Kaylee starring in the role of Hooper on Jaws. See her in that spot.
Yeah.
But you probably don't remember.
She
Jaws,
would have loved that. I remember Jaws. There's no way she remembers it.
No, I do.
Okay.
I watched it.
Cultured. Good job.
The Meg is the new Jaws. Right?
I've also seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides your kids, have you guys had any other? Well, I know you guys have had other guests, but what has that experience been like? How do you guys pick and choose what guests come on the pod? That kind of thing.
We beg.
Yeah,
they're always our best episodes. Like anytime we have a guest on, it's the best episode that we've put out in a while. So it's always enjoyable to bring them in and have a different perspective come in, and it just allows us to talk to them, and ask them questions and get their perspective. We had an OU golfer on
recently.
That's cool.
A month or
Morgan
so
Rogers. She was a student in my podcasting class, and that's how that. I mean. She was learning about podcasting. I knew that she was playing golf, and not only was she playing, she was really good as a freshman here. And I said, you need to come on. I mean, you're the kind of person that we have on our podcast. And so she came on. It was great.
We've had all kind of guests. Kevin Wilson, hitting coach.
Well, yeah, during COVID, when we were recording from my house and his house, and no one was coaching anything, right? I mean, there was a period of time there where no one was allowed to do anything. And so all of these people were itching to coach. And just like I understood that because that's what I went through when I wasn't coaching. And so all we had to do was reach out. I mean, everybody's reachable now through Twitter. I mean, you could send a message to anybody. And so that's kind of what we did. We messaged some of these guys that work with pro athletes and college coaches, and we had a bunch of good guests on back during. So if you go back and look at our episodes from March of 2020 through October of 2020, the quality wasn't as good because they're all on Zoom, but the guests were phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but we do have a pipeline here. I mean, Ohio. A lot of our guests have been Ohio University athletes and
coaches
and coaches as well. We had Jimmy Burrow on.
Oh wow!
But Kinsey Rourke when she was the softball coach here as well. But we've had a lot of football players because I have a good relationship with a good number of football players here. A lot of them come to my church for one, but my wife and I also volunteer for Athletes in Action, and we developed some really good relationships with those guys. And so yeah.
Yeah. So what year exactly did the podcast start?
2019, right?
Yeah. It was. We started talking about doing this in July, I think, the summer of 2019. or June or July of 2019. Yeah.
Yeah. What other, like, what has it been like actually physically, like, starting the podcast? Like, have you had any technical issues? Like, what was it like during COVID? That kind of thing.
Podcasting is pretty easy to do. I mean, it really is.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it seemed pretty complicated.
I think if you here's the
Getting
thing.
set up today.
Yeah, at the standard that Chris sets, it isn't easy to do.
Yeah.
But I think we would have saved 15 minutes here today if we could have just handled a little buzz in our microphone. But he
Which may have actually only been in our headphones, but we didn't know that.
To be fair, it was starting to get to me. But at first, me and Cami were like, well, yeah, we could
there was
hear
a buzz there, yeah.
And Chris was kind of freaking out about it. But that's who he is. He likes to
Things
make
got to
things
sound good. Yeah.
But you can. There's technology out there that makes podcasting pretty easy. And when we were remote, we leveraged that, and we're learning how to do it, and helping other people do it. But like Zoom was a big. What's the app that we used when you were on vacation somewhere and you called in on that cell phone app? I can't remember what that was, but it's the platform that we use to distribute our podcast. Oh, that was Anchor.
Back then, it was Anchor FM.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's I mean, you could literally have two phones, be on opposite sides of the world, and text a link from Anchor FM is now Spotify for podcasters. It's the same. It's the same app. It's just Spotify bought it, and if you use that, it's totally free to do a podcast. And if you want to start a show, you just click the little red microphone button on the app when you open up the app, and if you'd like to invite a guest or invite a co-host, just click the invite button,
right.
and then that will bring up your text message screen. Who do you want to text? Who do you want to send this link to? So you get a text, and on your end, you click on it, and then you have to have the app as well,
Right.
and it opens up in the app. So now he's talking into his microphone on his phone. I'm talking into my microphone on my phone. We could have 12 other people doing it as well. And the microphones are all picking up the audio, so it doesn't sound like a phone call. It's actually using a quality microphone. If you had a quality microphone connected to it, which is what I had, a Zoom mic connected to my phone in Myrtle Beach. But it's all being captured in the cloud, and then it's being saved in the cloud. And then I get that file, download it, and it sounds like we're all in the same room. Yeah. And it's I mean, so when I say it's easy, I mean, it's free, it's easy, anybody can do it. And if you want to know more about it, you need to sign up for my class.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I definitely think it's like podcasting has become more accessible, especially after COVID. And like, I think that also like there was a big rise in podcasting just because it was like sort of an outlet to sort of like talk and like
when a lot of people had a lot of time to do
yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I think that it became like with Zoom and stuff, it just became a lot easier to do even from like a distance and stuff like that. So,
for sure.
Yeah. Do you guys have any advice for anyone starting a podcast?
Go for it, Coach.
Well, I mean, I would say the same thing to them that I have to tell myself all the time. There's this thing called imposter syndrome, right? Where you feel like I can't do this. I'm not qualified to do this, right?
Yeah.
And there is probably somebody out there that would be very interested in listening to your podcast,
regardless,
if you want to do it. Yeah. I mean, you are interesting, and you have something to say, and you may not have. We're not going to have the same audience as Jocko Willink and Joe Rogan and not all these people, Theo Vaughn, all these people, but we're also that's not our goal, right? So the cool thing about podcasting is it's very personal. It's very personal, and so I would say that the people who probably get the most out of our podcast are, funny enough, people who know us.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, people who we have relationships with who could easily call us or sit down with us and talk with us about these same things, but for some reason, doing it on a podcast is I don't know. It makes it kind of special, and so I think other thing I would say to somebody is it's fun. It's fun to experiment with.
Yeah.
Give it a shot if you want to do it.
Yeah.
Have an idea though, right? Like you can't just come back. Like we talk about how we just sit behind the microphones and have conversation, like as though we don't plan it at all. But we do. We have an idea of what our topic is going to be, and then on his end, he's researching. Sometimes on my end, I'm researching. Sometimes, but I try to spend a little bit of time, at least knowing, some bullet points of what I want to say, and if we're going to give data, make sure we can back that up and give the source, cite the sources and things like that. So yeah, there is work to it, because I don't know. I keep coming back to the same word every time we podcast, and that is useful. Mm. I mean, if we didn't think that we were useful, then I wouldn't want to do it. It's a waste of our time.
Yeah. I think having a serving attitude is important. What can we do for other people? And not in being right all the time.
Oh, that's not the case.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you don't want to take yourself too seriously, but allow yourself to grow. Allow the conversations or the topics that you use to further you, as who you are. And I think that would be my biggest one is know what you're bringing. Know how, like you said, Coach, being useful. Find that purpose.
Yes.
I think it would be hard just to come up on it in here every week and talk about something that, I'm trying to convince someone else that I'm absolutely right about.
Right.
And when I've done it, AKA Baker Mayfield, I've been wrong typically. So, but yeah, so
I love Baker Mayfield. Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
Yeah, I did him dirty there a couple of years ago. He said the phrase "I love Baker Mayfield," and I turned it in.
I still like Baker a lot, by the way.
Oh, I do too. I felt bad for him this past week because I was rooting for him. But no, I did a little clip where he probably said it 100 times in the little post
treats me bad,
episode clip. So
It's hilarious.
No, I tell you, do this. Answer this. If anybody that wants to do a podcast, or really anything in life, before you set out to do it, answer this question, and it's just one word: why. When you know why, like when you have your why, then you've got it. Then you move forward.
Good word.
Yeah, I love that. My last question is, what do you ultimately hope audiences gain from listening to your podcast?
There's a lot, but I think for me one of the biggest things that one of the biggest things that's the podcast has helped me with over the past 3 or 4 years, and I've went from coaching let's see, a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old in different sports to now.
From the time we started.
Yeah, and more importantly, that being a parent to a 13-year-old and 9-year-old athlete to now being a parent and a coach to a 17-year-old and 13-year-old is how to deal, with the challenges and the failures that they experience and what that means to them as people and how you measure that against yourself as who you are as a person. There's a lot of people out there that struggle with emotions when it comes to their kids in sports, whether they, how good they are or, how well they do. And I was one of them. And, we've said this a lot talking on the podcast is, we want other people. We talk about our mistakes a lot, the things that we've done wrong as coaches and as parents. And we want other people to hear those so that they can maybe not make those same mistakes. So, for me, being a resource, just Coach mentioned earlier, we talk about books and podcasts that we listen to and, availability out on the internet and things like that, we just want people to have information that we have and to share that information. But, specifically for me, it's about that parent-child relationship and how that can be used with sports to grow and to further that kid and to help that child develop as a person, and how it can hurt them in a lot of ways too.
Yeah. We, as Pat said, we talk a lot about our failures. And one of the things that we know as coaches, especially coaches of the sport of baseball, is you've got to learn how to learn from failure, because there's a lot of it in life. And the whole reason I even have a book or two books is because of I started writing about things that I failed in, failed my kids in, failed my family in, failed my teams in, and the way I coached, some of the things I focused on that I would not focus on today, and things like that. And so I kind of feel like if we can get those things out there and say, this is what we did wrong, we don't want you to do the same things wrong. People could learn from our failures, but I would say the same thing that we desire as coaches of our teams is what we desire when we come in here. I kind of see every week when we step in here, I feel like I'm coaching. I feel like I'm, there are people out there who need a coach today. And so what we're talking about, is something that hopefully is going to help them get a little better, because that's what we want our kids to do. We want them to get a little better. And I want them to, because you're not going to be the best you can be tomorrow. In fact, you're never going to be the best you can be, because it's about the process.
Hope not, right? You don't want to be. You never want to be.
But you want to aim for it, though.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? It's like, here's the target. And it might be impossible to hit, but let's just keep going toward it. And that's kind of what we do on this podcast, is we just keep going toward that target of just getting better, getting better, getting better. And it's the same thing we do with our kids on our same thing we do with our families, same thing we do with our kids on our teams. Is just let's just keep getting a little better. And then, you know what? That might translate into a championship someday. And for us as a podcast, it might translate into what they call them, a Webby. A Webby someday. We'll get a Webby for the best sports podcast one day.
I believe it. I'll be rooting for you guys.
Appreciate that.
Get our nomination here.
Yeah.
Of course,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Is there anything else you guys would like to add that I haven't covered, or is there anything you'd like to ask me?
Oh yeah, we've got all kinds of questions we'd like to ask you. We've been on for an hour though, so yeah.
We should have you come back so we can talk to you again, like have you as our
We'll
guest.
interview you.
I would be 100% down for that.
You'd be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah,
Is this your first podcast?
This is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Was it fun?
It was so fun. Thank you
Good.
so much for having me.
We
Yeah,
really
you bet.
appreciate you coming in.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
writing about us. So,
Yeah.
Of
for
course,
sure.
I'm so excited.
So
to
when
feature
will we
you
be
guys.
able to see this article?
It's due the 30th.
Okay.
So it will be edited that day, and I think it'll come out either the day after that. So
Who's your editor?
Alyssa Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know Alyssa?
Alyssa's one of my ambassadors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah, she's also in my class this semester.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
two of our college ambassadors that work for Scripps here are also in my class. Alyssa and Molly.
Really
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Alyssa's great. She's
Good.
the best.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So if this is edited very poorly and you make us say some things that we really didn't say, Alyssa's who I go to fire. Is that right?
No.
I'm
Please,
teasing.
no.
We don't anticipate that at all. We don't anticipate that at
No,
all.
fire
It's going to
me
be
first
great.
before Alyssa.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I love the fact that you guys. That's one of the awesome things about Ohio University is the experiential learning that is particular. I could say this particularly in Scripps College of Communication. I mean, the experiential learning here is second to none. It's
Yeah.
with the Post, the newspaper, the WOUB.
Yeah,
Yes.
truly. And
I mean-
Gridiron and Hardwood,
Oh,
they're
my
going
goodness.
to these high school games
Yes.
and reporting on them. And
Oh yeah, getting
yeah.
nominated for Emmys.
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
it's incredible. Yeah, and coming out of these schools, right? Coming out of these our media school and all of our different schools, are students who are getting jobs in these areas as well. Teaching here and then getting Evan Shaw, for example.
Yeah.
An old Meigs County boy, right? Works for NFL Films. And he was teaching other students who had those same ambitions here, and was getting so many gigs doing that he had to step away from teaching here. And now, it's phenomenal. It's really cool actually to see what games he goes to every week. But it's really cool that you're getting to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, cool. Well, what do you think? We done?
I think we're good.
Yeah. This is our let's get out of here music, right? So maybe we should say then, if we have a little different audience listening to us this time because they also wanted to hear Cami, maybe we should say, hey, if you're interested in our podcast and you think it might be something that'd be useful to you, then follow us, subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And tell us what to talk about.
Because when you subscribe, people don't understand this. Like some people just go out and look for podcasts, right? But when you subscribe, it just comes into your feed for you. It's an RSS, and podcasts are based on RSS feeds. And
Right.
so, when you don't have to go looking for it. You can just have us every Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, depending on when we record. It'll be Friday this week. So, yeah.
Yeah, those people are like, was Cami going to be on every Tuesday, Wednesday?
There you go. There you go. So, but you'll be able to hear this tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you guys so
Good
much.
deal.
Yeah,
Yep.
nice meeting you, Cami.
Nice to
Thanks
meet
for
you
coming in.
guys.
Hope to have you back.
Absolutely.
Of course.